welcome to our deep dive. You really threw us for a loop with these sources this time.
Yeah, what with all the Portuguese and...
The Portuguese was a new one, right?
Yeah.
But we did our best.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to see kind of, there are some common threads through all of them.
Yeah, there really are.
When it comes to AI.
Yeah, and I think business.
Yeah, and how it's changing the nature of business.
Yeah. And we were talking before the show, it seems like this is a much bigger shift than just, now we're going to use AI for this or for that. It really seems like
it's fundamental.
Yeah, it's a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
Right? Like how businesses operate.
It's not just a tool. It's changing the game completely.
Yeah. And, it's funny. One of the things that I think is interesting or that I was thinking about is like, to understand that, it's helpful to think back to how software first entered the business world.
Yeah.
Right. It was all like, we had PeopleSoft for HR, Zendesk for customer support, Salesforce for sales.
Right.
Like they were
like digitized filing cabinets.
Yeah. They were basically making
instead of paper
existing processes digital. Right.
Yeah.
Instead of paper, it's now in a database.
Exactly.
But it was still like people were still doing
the work.
Right.
People to
just was easier to search and sort and.
Right, and make decisions based on that data.
Yeah.
And what's different now is that AI can be the worker.
So it's not just about like, it's going to make our processes more efficient. It's about taking action on that data.
It's about doing the work.
Right.
So can you give me like a
Absolutely.
concrete example of... So let's say a company used to rely on a team of salespeople to make calls,
right,
to send emails,
right,
to follow up with leads.
Yeah.
Now you have AI-powered agents that can handle much of that.
Right.
They can answer questions, qualify leads, even schedule meetings without human intervention.
So, and that must have like a
massive impact on costs.
Yeah. Instead of having to, have a whole team of salespeople, you could
potentially just invest in the AI.
You could just have the AI.
Right. And that leads us to this key shift that's happening.
Okay.
Moving from labor-intensive processes to capital-intensive ones.
Okay.
Think of it this way. With traditional software, you pay for the tool.
Right.
And then you pay for the ongoing cost of the people using it.
Right.
With AI, upfront investment might be higher,
right,
but the ongoing labor costs are dramatically reduced.
And that makes a lot of sense. And it also ties into this concept that you kept seeing in these sources of the dead zone.
Yeah.
So can you explain what that is exactly?
So the dead zone is this pricing dilemma that a lot of businesses face, especially new businesses.
Yeah.
If the product's priced too low,
right,
you can't afford to have the sales and support staff needed to sell it.
Right.
But if you price it too high, then you shrink your market.
You shrink your market.
It's a tough place to be.
So how does AI help companies get out of this dead zone?
So by slashing those labor costs, one of the sources had this great anecdote about what they called the $100,000 salesperson.
Okay.
If each salesperson costs a company that much per year,
right,
but the product they're selling only generates a small amount of revenue per unit, the math doesn't work.
The product can't even support the cost of selling it.
Exactly. But with AI, you can dramatically change that equation. Suddenly, products that were stuck in the dead zone become viable.
Okay.
Because the cost of selling and supporting them has plummeted.
And that really makes it clear how AI is like changing like the fundamental economics of a business, right? Like it's not just it's not just like, it's going to make things a little bit easier or a little bit faster.
It's changing the whole equation.
It's changing the whole equation.
Yeah.
And that also makes me think about CAC.
Yes.
Customer acquisition cost.
Right.
Which
is essentially how much it costs a business
Yeah.
to acquire a new customer.
Right. And we were talking about that before the show, too, about how, you know, AI is really having
a huge impact on that as well.
A huge impact on that.
Yeah.
And think about like all the traditional ways companies reach new customers, right?
Right.
Like advertising.
Yeah. Advertising, sales calls,
yeah,
demos, follow-ups.
Yeah. And they're all
very labor intensive.
Labor intensive and therefore expensive.
Therefore expensive.
Right. And especially for
startups,
yeah.
With limited resources.
Yeah.
They need to get customers, but they might not have the budget for these big marketing campaigns.
Right. Yeah.
Or a large sales team.
Yeah.
And that's where AI comes in.
Okay.
AI-powered chatbots,
right.
voice bots.
Yeah.
They can handle those initial customer interactions.
Yeah.
They can answer those calming questions.
Right.
Qualify leads.
Yeah.
Even collect information, all without needing a human on the other end.
So it's freeing up the human teams to
focus on those more complex interactions,
yeah.
the ones that require a human touch.
Right. And then it's also making it cheaper to...
Less expensive.
Yeah, less expensive to acquire those customers in the first place.
Exactly. So the result is lower CAC.
Right.
Which means businesses can reach more customers profitably.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense. But it also seems like this shift would require businesses to really rethink their content strategy.
Yeah.
Right?
Like multi-platform world now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just about Google anymore, right?
It's not just about Google anymore.
That was the big thing for so long. It was like,
right.
Oh, how do we...
please the Google algorithm.
Yeah, please the Google algorithm. And now it's like...
Now consumers find information through social media like TikTok, Instagram, AI assistants, and... yes, still through traditional search.
Okay, so...
your content needs to be AI first.
AI first. Okay, so what does that... mean? What does that actually mean?
It means that your content needs to be structured in a way that AI can understand and process it.
Okay. So like...
think clear titles, subtitles, bullet points, concise answers to specific questions.
So like if I'm a business creating content, it's not enough that it's just... engaging for humans.
Right.
It also has to be easily digestible
by AI. Yeah.
And does that also mean like thinking about different formats like, oh, I need a short video for TikTok.
Yeah.
And I need a longer article for my website. And maybe I need an audio piece for...
Absolutely. Yeah. The more structured and organized your content is, the better AI will be able to process it, categorize it, and recommend it to the right audience.
So it sounds like if you're a listener, and you're thinking about AI as impacting your business, it's not just about like, oh, what cool technology can I use?
It's a fundamental shift.
It's a fundamental shift in how you're thinking about.
Yeah, in how you're approaching things.
Costs, efficiency, content.
Yes, AI isn't just a tool, it's a new way of thinking about business.
And we're just scratching the surface here.
We're just scratching the surface.
There's so much more.
There's so much more to explore when it comes to the opportunities.
Yeah.
And we'll dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Welcome back. So we were talking about how AI is really impacting the way businesses are thinking about things like customer acquisition and content creation. But you also included some sources that are really focused on AI and the job market.
Yes.
And that seems like a pretty big deal.
It is. And it's one that often sparks both excitement and concern.
Right, because I know a lot of people are worried about AI and jobs, right? Like, oh, is it going to take all our jobs?
Yeah, some people worry that it will lead to, widespread job losses.
Right.
While others see it as an opportunity to create new and better jobs.
And it seems like the truth is probably somewhere in between, right?
Right.
Like it's not going to be all good. It's not going to be all bad.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to be different.
It's going to be different. It's going to change the types of jobs that are available.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the sources you shared from one of the venture capitalists was making the case that we're on the cusp of like a whole new wave of job creation.
Yes.
Driven by AI.
Entirely new industries, job categories that we can't even imagine yet.
And it's funny because it's sort of like trying to predict what the internet's impact on the job market would be.
Right.
Back in like the early 90s, right? Like no one could have said, oh yeah, there's going to be this whole job called a social media manager.
Exactly. You would have had no idea.
You would have had no idea. Or an app developer or, all these.
YouTuber.
Yeah, YouTube, like all these things that
didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's almost like we
don't have the language for it yet.
We don't even know what we don't know.
Yeah, we don't even know what to call these jobs that will exist in the future.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily, I guess, it's not necessarily about like, oh, AI is going to come and steal our jobs.
Right. It's about
like it's going to change what jobs there are.
AI is going to change the nature of work.
Right. And maybe create
new opportunities.
Yeah, create new opportunities that we can't even fathom yet.
And augment human capabilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily like a one-to-one replacement.
Yeah.
It's more like a shifting of the landscape, right?
Yeah.
But if that's the case, like why now? Like what's changed in recent years to make this possible?
So there are a few key factors that have converged to kind of make this the perfect time for AI to take off.
Okay.
One is cost.
Yeah.
The cost of developing and deploying AI has come down significantly.
Okay.
So things like cloud computing, powerful GPUs, open source AI tools have made it much more accessible for businesses of all sizes to experiment and implement AI.
So it's not just like the Googles and the Facebooks of the world who could...
Even small startups, individual entrepreneurs can now access the tools and resources we need to build AI-powered products and services.
And has that led to like a big explosion?
It's led to this huge explosion of innovation.
Right, because now you have all these...
in the AI space.
Yeah, all these people who maybe had ideas but couldn't
afford to develop them before.
Yeah, so that makes sense. But I guess beyond just cost, there's also been like some amazing advancements.
Oh, absolutely.
In AI capabilities, right?
Huge.
Yes.
It's just even like the last couple of years.
Yeah, think about ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
that was mind-blowing.
It was mind-blowing when it first came out. Yeah. Like, the ability to generate human-quality text, have natural-sounding conversations, that was a game changer.
Right, and that's just
one example.
One area, right. Like, there's also been a lot of stuff in, like...
We've seen major progress in computer vision, robotics, machine learning.
Yeah.
All of these things are making AI much more practical and effective for a wider range of applications.
So it's not just like
it's not just a theoretical
concept anymore, right? Like it's actually being used.
It's actually being used to solve real problems and create real value. Right. And it seems like every day there's another story about how...
across a wide range of industries.
Yeah, some companies using AI to...
Yeah, I mean, from marketing and sales... to customer support and operations.
Do something really incredible.
Right. It's everywhere.
Yeah. And this trend seems like it's only going to accelerate.
It's only going to accelerate, yeah.
And one of your sources, the venture capitalist, was making this really interesting point about how software is becoming labor in the age of AI.
Right. That this is creating entirely new markets and revitalizing existing ones.
Can you give me an example of what you mean by that?
Sure. So they use the example of the restaurant industry.
Yep.
For years, the market for restaurant management software was pretty small.
Right.
And then companies like Toast came along, combined software with embedded payments, and created a whole new category of software that was much more valuable and appealing to restaurants.
Right.
They essentially expanded the market by adding a financial services layer on top of the existing software.
So they took something that was already valuable.
Right.
Like software that helped restaurants manage their operations.
Right.
And they made it even more valuable by adding this other layer of functionality.
Exactly.
And they're saying that AI is kind of doing something similar across all these...
across a variety of industries, yes.
Okay, so it's not just about automating the existing tasks.
Right.
It's about
creating entirely new...
creating new things that weren't even possible before.
products and services that weren't possible before.
Yeah, that's a really...
finding new ways to use software to create value.
exciting way to think about it.
And solve problems.
It's not just like robots are coming for our jobs. It's like...
right.
This is expanding the possibilities of what we can even...
Exactly. And what's so exciting about this is that we're really just at the beginning. This source even says that we're in the first inning of what they call the AI-enabled outcomes cloud era.
AI-enabled outcomes cloud era.
Yeah, so what they're essentially saying is that AI is not just about building cool technology. It's about using that technology to create tangible outcomes that improve people's lives. They envision a future where AI is used to personalize education at scale. Create virtual assistants that can anticipate our needs. And even develop personalized healthcare plans based on our individual genetic makeup.
Wow, those are
pretty ambitious goal.
Yeah, that's some big, big, big stuff.
Right, but it does seem like AI has the potential.
Right, it does seem like it has the potential, and it almost feels like we're,
like a real
we're standing on the edge of like a new frontier.
Yes.
And we're just starting to glimpse what might be out there.
And just like with any new frontier, there are going to be challenges and uncertainties along the way.
Right, because I mean, I guess one of the things that keeps coming up.
And one of the sources raises this important point.
Yeah.
What happens to the human workforce as AI takes over more and more tasks?
Yeah, that's a big one. And it's one that I think causes a lot of people.
It's a question we can't ignore.
Yeah, a lot of fear and anxiety.
Absolutely.
Right. But it also seems like.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
But the sources also suggest that AI will create new jobs.
Right. Yeah.
Jobs that we can't even imagine yet.
Right. So maybe it's not about humans versus AI, but
it's about humans and AI.
Humans and AI.
Working together to create a better future.
Right. That's a much more.
It's not about one replacing the other.
Yeah.
It's about finding ways to combine the strengths of both.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a much more hopeful way to think about it.
Humans excel at things like creativity, empathy, the complex decision-making.
Right.
AI excels at data analysis.
Yeah.
Pattern recognition.
Right.
Repetitive tasks.
Yeah. And if we can figure out how to kind of.
By combining those strengths.
Combine those.
We can achieve things that neither can do alone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. But I guess it also seems like there are these big questions that we as a society need to address.
Yes.
Like how do we make sure that the benefits of AI are shared broadly, right?
Yes.
Not just concentrated in the hands of a few.
Absolutely.
Like how do we prepare the workforce for the jobs of the future?
Right. How do we prevent AI from being used in ways that are harmful or discriminatory?
Right.
These are all crucial questions.
Yeah.
And as we continue to explore the potential of AI, we need to be mindful of both its benefits and its risks.
Right.
We need to have these open and honest conversations about how to develop and deploy AI in a way that is ethical, responsible, and beneficial to all of humanity.
Right. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the
choices
that we make about how to use it.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to ask our listener a question.
Yeah.
How do these insights that we've talked about, how do they resonate with you?
What excites you most about the potential of AI?
Yeah. What are you excited about? What are you concerned about?
And what concerns you?
Yeah. Take some time to think about those questions. We'll continue our exploration of AI in the final part of this deep dive, and we're going to really focus on
how you can leverage AI to create new opportunities and achieve your goals.
Welcome back to our deep dive into this AI revolution. We've been talking about how AI is impacting businesses and changing the nature of work and creating all these opportunities and challenges. But now I kind of want to shift the focus to you, the listener.
Yeah, we've been exploring these big picture trends, but what does it all mean for you, on an individual level? How can you actually leverage AI to your advantage in your career, your business?
That's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah, it is.
And one of the sources you shared, the one with your business course notes, really stood out to me. It really emphasized that in this new AI-driven world, it's not enough to just understand the traditional, business metrics, like EBITDA.
You need to be thinking about things like customer acquisition costs, CAC, and lifetime value.
CAC, LTV.
LTV.
And we talked about CAC before. Can you just remind me what is lifetime value?
So lifetime value is essentially the total revenue a customer generates for your business over the entire relationship with you.
Right.
So it's not just about making that single sale. It's about building those long-term relationships with customers who come back for more.
Right. So it's like the lifetime, the total value of that customer.
A total value of that customer relationship.
Okay, and your notes mention that there's like an ideal ratio for digital businesses.
Yes.
When it comes to LTV and CAC.
The sweet spot is 3.1.
3 to 1.
LTV to CAC.
So for every dollar I spend?
That means for every dollar you spend acquiring a customer.
You're
aiming to generate $3 in revenue. Over their lifetime.
Got it. Okay, so it's not just about, I need to get as many customers as possible. It's also about making sure that...
It's about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
You want customers who are going to stick around.
And AI can play a role on both sides of that equation, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We've already talked about how it can...
So we've discussed how AI can lower CAC by automating marketing and sales tasks.
Right.
But it can also increase LTV.
Okay.
By personalizing the customer experience, predicting customer needs, recommending products or services that are more likely to resonate.
Okay. So if you're like thinking about, starting a business or launching a new product, AI needs to be part of your strategy from day one.
Absolutely.
It's not just
not an afterthought.
It's not an afterthought. You need to be thinking about how you can use this to...
It needs to be baked into your business model.
Yeah, to not only acquire customers efficiently, but also to build those strong, lasting relationships.
The strong, lasting relationships.
And even if you're not an entrepreneur, like understanding these concepts is really crucial for navigating the evolving job market.
Yes.
Because AI is becoming more prevalent in businesses.
In businesses of all sizes.
Yeah, and so like if you get this, if you understand how to leverage it.
Those who understand how to leverage it effectively will be in high demand.
Yeah, and one of the VCs you shared even predicts that we're going to see like the rise of entirely new AI jobs.
Yeah, new jobs that simply weren't possible before because they were either too expensive or they required skills that were in short supply.
So like what would those be? Like what are some examples?
So we're talking about people who can train AI systems, interpret AI results, explain AI concepts to non-technical audiences, and ensure that AI is being used ethically and responsibly.
So instead of worrying about robots taking our jobs, maybe we should be thinking about how we can prepare for these new AI-related roles, right? Like what skills are going to be most valuable?
So it's not just about technical skills, like coding or data science. It's also about those human skills. Things like critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, problem solving.
So those are the things that will set humans apart.
Those are the things that will set humans apart from machines.
Okay, so it seems like we're in this time of like great opportunity, but also
great uncertainty.
Great uncertainty.
Yeah. We're on the cusp of a massive technological shift.
Yeah.
And it's not entirely clear what the future holds.
Right, but it does seem like the people who are willing to like adapt and learn and embrace the possibilities are going to be the ones who
shape the future.
Yeah, who shape the future.
This is a time for curiosity, creativity, a willingness to step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, so as we wrap up our deep dive here, I want to leave you with a final thought,
The AI revolution is here.
Yeah.
And it's up to each of us to decide how we want to participate in it.
The future is being written right now.
Yeah.
And you have the power to be a part of it.
Embrace the possibilities.
Embrace the possibilities. Stay curious.
Stay curious and never stop learning.
Never stop learning.
And remember, AI is a tool.
Yes.
It's up to us to use it wisely to ensure that it serves humanity, not the other way around.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.